in honor of Halloween, I thought we'd do something different and a little bit, a little bit scary and a little bit in keeping with the season. And something that we haven't done here in a while. What is that, you might ask? It is a GotBot Counts Down. And this time I take a look at 10 creepy Transformers head sculpts. And if you're watching this some other time of the year, or you're just plain not really into Halloween, hey, stick around anyway, because this one is going to be a little bit different. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, I appreciate you dropping by. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, have a look for me everywhere. Watch Universal Collision and spend some time on the channel and see what it is that tickles your fancy. And like I said, we're going to count down 10 creepy Transformers head sculpts. These are the ones that I often think to myself, why would they do this? This is going to give me bad dreams. And sometimes they have. Not necessarily the ones that you think would have that reaction or make me have that reaction. Number 10 has to go to Bludgeon. And I really don't care what, incarnation you're looking at. I looked at this Bludgeon, the ROTF one in episode 231. I also looked at the one from Transformers Prime in episode 230 and the RID one in episode 289. The fact of the matter is this: his head is basically just a lifeless skull wearing a helmet, a samurai helmet, I guess. It is so identifiable as Bludgeon. It is such a distinguishing feature. I mean, I love it, but at the same time, there's something just unnerving about the head of a robot being a skull. By the way, on a side note here, let's throw a shout out to Sculptron. He's not going to be on the list, but that's a creepy head sculpt as well. After what I experienced with Steelbane, I can't go Sculptron. Anyway, number 10, Bludgeon. Why? Because his head is a skull, and that's always something that tends to be able to make some people, frightened this time of year. Skeletons hung in your window and whatnot are kind of a traditional Halloween thing. Moving this guy out of it, number 9, perhaps one of the biggest baddies there's ever been, though when we finally saw him, I don't think he particularly lived up to expectations. I'm talking about the Fallen. And if I can get him to stand, that alone will be a miracle. That alone would give you bad dreams. His feet. Forget the guy's face sculpt and head. His feet. But yeah, everything about this guy screams robot monster. And the head sculpt is no different. I find that when I look at it, as odd as it is, and it's very alien, there's no doubt about it, I can't help but think to myself, it sort of looks like you would expect a Prime to look, but really in a sinister fashion. And that's why this guy pulls in at number 9. And now we come into number 8. By the way, I took a look at the Fallen way back in episode 30. Number 8 goes to Fall of Cybertron Shockwave. And I looked at this guy, I think in episode 104, and I looked at his Transformers Prime Cyberverse counterpart in episode 315. The fact of the matter is, why would I say that this guy has one of the creepiest head sculpts? Because I think it's so foreign to what we think of when we picture a face. He really doesn't have one. It's just that one glowing eye. It looks ominous. It looks foreboding. And if you know anything about the character, you know that what follows that eye, the sort of mentality that follows that eye, is definitely frightening in and of itself. So as simple as it is, and the fact that it's just, you know, not a face per se, is enough to make this guy take the number 8 spot. Number 7 comes to us from Transformers The Last Night, and it's Berserker's head. Now yes, I'm holding it in my hand because this just pops off the ball joint, no problem. But the sculpted detail is absolutely glorious. I even like the paint on it, that gunmetal gray. But there's no doubt about it that this definitely embodies the idea of like a predator type of alien. And you can definitely see that if you come face to face with this guy in a dark alley, bad things are probably going to follow. I looked at him in full in episode 260. And number 6 has to go to the movieverse Drift. Specifically, in this case, the Age of Extinction one. Yes, it's sculpted glorious. The gold paint really makes it stand out. It has so much detail, but it's just plain a disturbing face. I thought it right from the first time I ever saw a render of the guy. I get the point of it, and I get the more humanoid look, but it almost feels like a person's face was slapped right onto a robot. We don't even have the kind of contours and textures that you would expect on a robot, with more squared off features. And for that very reason, and the fact that it just burns itself into your mind, is the reason that he grabs number 6. By the way, I looked at this guy way back in episode 60. Despite having this guy contorted in a most uncomfortable fashion, the thing about him that's really uncomfortable has to be that head sculpt. The eyes are so dark and lifeless. The detail on the face is exquisite, really. But at the same time, Lockdown has to take the number 5 spot because, again, it's so foreboding, so imposing, so sinister. Too bad that the body of the guy was so small and cute. Nevertheless, because of that head sculpt kind of searing itself into my mind, I can't help but give him the number 5 spot. And I looked at him way back in episode 59. Number 4 is going to be grabbed by G-Axis, who I looked at in episode 182. And why? Because his face, I find, is such that it has a look as though he's wearing an apparatus. And why a robot would need to wear what seems to be a breathing apparatus is beyond me. The kind of molded in plugs and hoses scream something along the lines of a gas mask. And if a robot from another planet needs to wear a gas mask, I can't imagine what he's walking into. That alone is a very Halloween-esque thought. Number 3 is probably a surprise to many, but I don't know if anyone can argue that the Transformers Prime Ratchet, who I looked at a custom version of in episode 243, I don't know if anyone can argue that this guy looks more like a mad scientist, that would live in a castle on a mountain when there's a thunder and lightning storm, than he does a doctor. I don't think the guy looks like a physician. He looks like something that would bring a cobbled together monster, alive in the dark of night during a raging storm. Maybe that's what they were going for. Who knows? Number 2 belongs to Skyshadow. Or, if you will, it's the back of Ominous. Which is sort of ironic, since this face is very ominous, with the black around the eyes and the yellow just peering out, and then the most serious expression on the face. I got to say that though I love Skyshadow and looked at him in 256, this head sculpt is one of the most intimidating that I've ever come across of any line. And for that, he takes number 2. But perhaps the creepiest head sculpt of them all is the one that would probably surprise people the most. Why would it surprise people the most? Well, that's easy. It would surprise people the most because it belongs to an Autobot. The number one creepiest head sculpt, in my opinion, has to go to FOC Sideswipe. Yes, it's detailed nice, and yes, you can sort of tell that it's Sideswipe, but I defy anybody, absolutely anybody, to be able to look at that and say that those eyes don't look absolutely lifeless. I feel like that this is what he would look like after his spark was extinguished. And it's always bothered me to look at it on the shelf. More than anyone else, to my shock and amazement. I looked at this guy full in episode 109. So there you have it, from Movieverse to Transformers Prime to Titans Return and beyond. That's 10 of the creepiest head sculpts that I've ever come across. I'd love to know what ones I mentioned here would be on your list. What other ones that I didn't mention here you would put on the list. As always, let me know what you guys think. I thank you for dropping by, giving me a few minutes of your very valuable time. Hopefully this was a bit of fun for you as well. And as always, I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together for another visit right here inside the videos.